Hello, everyone. I am Cassandra Lewis, and this is a presentation on intended research for a thesis called The Sense of Self in Social Media Use. Sense of self is how the individual views themselves, and it is also considered the identity of a person. Social media applications like Facebook or Instagram are there to connect people through social networks for information and communication. Social networks provide platforms to introduce the individual through the internet with personal influence to present the self, like providing a profile picture for your page to a social application. This study investigates the individual's sense of self to the usage of social networks, Facebook, and Instagram. Participants were recruited from the Bridge Agency for Mental Health and Substance Abuse, which provides residential and outpatient services, to complete a questionnaire. Drawing on the theories of Erving Goffman, presenting the self in performances, and Albert Bandura's social learning, this research will examine the identity or sense of self to the correlation of learned behaviors through social media use. Erving Goffman expressed the theory of the presentation of self in interactions people have or create in performances which are influenced by society. He agreed that people expect the differences in social status among interactings that have differences but specifies interaction roles. Goffman proposed individuals change their appearance to gain admission into social circles, and they try to play a part of a character, which eventually can create consequences for the self as not being sincere. He supported the natural movement between cynicism and sincerity, which shows the transitional point of strength of self-solution, which can be labeled as what it is called a front or striving for validity. Goffman suggested that the idea of creating a front becomes a collective representation which portrays no real individuality, that exposes fronts to be selected and not newly created. Adolescent participation in social media has positive and negative factors, which supports Bandura's social learning theory, because at this stage of life, many individuals are influenced to observe and repeat certain behaviors. The use of social media applications has relevance to social learning theory because the actual use of the internet and social media has allowed many individuals to become active in this form of social engagement. The fastest form of social interaction is through the internet, and various people of all cultures have created profiles for identification through social applications to keep up with the times and communication. Social applications portray the media and human behaviors or appearances that invite people to engage with others, which creates discussions for the most current and popular topics. By observing other people and modeling their appearance or actions, individuals get a view of what they may aspire to be or are striving for, but mostly it's not realistic. Literature review. Valenti, Johnson, Alakoven, Jacobs, Graham, and Rath gathered data on social media use of young adults to record national use of social media amongst 10 network sites. Researchers recorded the increase of social media use from 89% in 2014 to 97% in 2016, and young adults are using 6 or more sites frequently. The study supported the change in social media environment to be growing quickly and has relevance to social learning theory from the increase of users. A significant factor and needed implication of this study was the idea to advise future health interventions through the internet or social media sites. Uliteri, Saladino, and Varastro reviewed adolescents' engagement through social media and examined how using social media networks have influenced sexuality, resulting in risky consequences. The reviewers agreed that social media has power to influence adolescent decision-making skills by connecting them to their peers, and it is a space where they seek to maintain their reputations. Kashima, Wilson, Lucia, Pearson, and Pearson found individuals learn descriptive norms about community engagement through experience. The study stressed the acquiring of the community's engagement through observing their associates, which has relevance to social learning theory. The researchers supported the idea of personal community engagement being social influence, which helped to motivate others to be interactive. Urasani, Apam, Sarma, and Tiwari found a high number of people being influenced to purchase product by peer connections, which expressed the connection between observing peers who purchase items and the social relationship producing more sales. They supported individuals' decisions towards a product, which is considered social contagion. Wang, Herdegaard, and Linder studied about finding the truth in crowds and whether it can be supported or unreliable. This study found there is a social network influence on societies, and initially, society begins with unbiased beliefs, but influences of the crowd eventually distorts the truth. They supported the fact of the consensus not having reliable information about the truth and highlighted social learning theory by references to the Crowder consensus to conforming or having herding behavior of fixed social networks. Yang, Holden, and Carter studied social comparison on social media and its psycho-emotional implications on adolescents, which could predict lower clarity on identity. The researchers found the participants mostly used Facebook and Instagram for social media use. Social comparison of ability on social media indirectly predicted lower identity clarity. And the researchers agreed that participants believed presenting oneself as popular, well-rounded, and physically attractive as goals for youth on social media reporting. Manzi, Cohen, Regalia, Ravenez, Wilani, and Vignoles examined frequent use of Facebook social networks and its relationship to identity processes through motivation, satisfaction, as well as exploration. They connected Facebook use motives across different regions and cultured for engagement, which can be related to social learning theory since individuals continue to join Facebook for different social aspects. Kim, Park, Lee, and Park agreed that social identity on Facebook is shared with others who have common likes or social groups, which create indirect acquaintances but more friends. The study proposed the level of social identity that is shared from users would inform individuals their importance and awareness of collectedness to belong to the same social group. The study suggested social learning theory is used when social media users are prone to valuing familiar acquaintances rather than individuals they don't know. Goffman insisted performers foster the impression that their performance and relationship to their audience have something unique about them. Dumas, Maxwell Smith, Davis, and Giletti research individual differences and motives for adolescents' use of the social network site Instagram. The researchers examined participants' engagement of Instagram to be normative or deceptive to attract attention of other users and to see if those behaviors suggested narcissistic characteristics equaling a weaker sense of belonging with peers. The researchers portrayed the participants' need for like-seeking behavior and narcissism as a common factor of social network use, which is related to social learning theory, where adolescents are engaging in social application use for attention. Bendora mentioned vicarious learning is a form of reinforcement, where people reinforce behaviors after observing the rewards of others receive, which is relative to using social media for attention. Zhang, Lui, and Chen observed how individuals' preferences are comparable to their friends and inquired if they maintain similar perspective when judging for the quality of product. The researchers examined social learning of individuals by consumers' ability to observe others before making personal decisions, and the capacity of people using different social networks. The researchers noted the growing influence of the internet and social media applications, which have increased actions of friends as well as strangers. For this intended study, there is a positive correlation between the use of social media networks, Facebook or Instagram, and having a negative sense of self for youth from poverty-level homes. The hypothesis is there is a positive correlation between using the social media networks, Facebook or Instagram, and having a negative sense of self for youth from poverty-level homes. Approximately 40 participants will be asked to participate in a research study from the Bridge Counseling and Mental Health Agency. The Bridge provides mental health, medical support groups, and residential services throughout New York City's 5 boroughs for adults aged 18 up to the elderly years. Participants' ages will range from 18 to 23 years old. Participants will show the disparities in cultures that the agency provides services to. Clients were asked to take part in the study about social media use, which was noted with a checklist of names. Participants reported they do have a history of social media use with Instagram and Facebook. They were informed they would need to be able to self-report their experience with social media. Participants will be provided with the questionnaire that will require them to provide only 3 identifiers on their questionnaire, which are age, race, and gender. The 2 questionnaire sections will inquire about social media use and personal perception of social media use. All 16 items in the entire questionnaire will all be responded to on a 5-point Likert scale. To measure sense of self when using social media, individuals will answer 12 items, which were derived from identity motive questions and Iowa Netherlands comparison orientation, with some changes that included when using social media, There will be 4 questions about Facebook and Instagram use. Procedure. Participants will enter the main program site for the Bridge Agency and will be ushered into a room to take a seat to take part in the study. The researcher will ask the participant to sign next to their name for attendance. The participants will be told about the study's purpose and what they will be required to do to be part of the research. Participants will be asked to sign a consent form to participate in the study and protect their rights as individuals to take part in the study. The participant will be given a consent form to read and sign an agreement to the research. The individual partaking in the study will be provided with a questionnaire and a pen to fill in their responses. The individual will be given an unlimited time to complete the questionnaire, and they will sit in the provided room alone to eliminate outside distractions. Once the individual has completed the questionnaire, they will be asked to turn in their responses. After the first part of completing questionnaires, the participant will be asked to take out their phone and use the social networks Facebook and Instagram for 10 minutes each. The researcher will record the time of the participant engaging and using Facebook and Instagram 10 minutes each. Once the social media engagement has ended for the participant, the researcher will provide the participant with the questionnaire again to record their responses. When the participant has completed the second questionnaire, the researcher will take the form and conclude the session. After gathering the responses, the goal is to see if there's a positive correlation between using Facebook or Instagram and having a negative sense of self. The data with 4 questions about social media use will be responded on 5-point Likert scale of 1, never, 2, rarely, 3, neutral, 4, often, 5, always. And the 12 questions about sense of self when using social media will be responded to on the 5-point Likert scale. 1, strongly, disagree, 2, disagree, 3, neutral, 4, agree, 5, strongly agree. All questionnaires should be fully answered with no blank responses for any of the questions to be able to report full cooperation for the study. This process will be repeated for the responses after participants engaged in using social media and completed the questionnaire for the second time to be compared. Using the 2 separate measures, this data will be entered into SPSS to code the values of the responses. Cohn and Foster mentioned the use of non-parametric tests for correlation with ordinal data, and by using Spearman's correlation, since the information is ordinal categorical, the data should be able to produce the total plus means for each measure. By analyzing the means of the 2 measures and their correlation scores, the significance should report the strength plus relationship of the measures in the survey. The second set of data will be entered to see the responses of the participants after engaging in the use of social media and responding to the questions for a second time. The data should produce comparable results to see if participants' responses were equal to their initial questionnaire responses or if their second survey responses were influenced by using social media, then taking part in the questionnaire. To display the data, the code value responses for the questions will be placed on a chart explaining variable and data information, which will include gender, age, and scoring for questions. When analyzing the data, display charts should show the totals, means, and significance for before and after responses that should help explain the relationship of social media use to the sense of self when using social media for this current study.